We are very pleased to be here again for a physical conference and to meet all of you in person. And I sincerely hope that all of you had a nice evening yesterday, not only Arif and Harish. It remains a bit of a mystery what they did, but that might be disclosed during the day. So, in the next 30 minutes, Laura and myself, we will give you an insight into the work of SAP's own Treasury department. So we will tell you a bit about our own S/4HANA journey and the key benefits that we experienced along the way. And we will give you a glimpse of how deeply involved my organization is when it comes to co-innovation and functionality enhancement projects. So when you look at the Treasury function today, it's probably a combination of challenges and excitement. So it's definitely a demanding environment we are in, with high capital market volatility, inflation, rapidly increasing financing costs. We see a lot of geopolitical tension and also stumbling supply chains. And we have all of those medium-term challenges, like the ever-increasing complexity with regulation, with KYC requirements. And I think that I share that with all of you. We have limited capacity to get our hands around all of that. But on the other hand, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of opportunity. So when you look at all of those crises that we saw, the pandemic, now the war in Ukraine, that shows the strategic importance of Treasury. And C-level attention has definitely increased throughout the last few years. Business transformation is a big topic for Treasury. So we have a seat at the table when it comes to the assessment of new business model, of commercialization and monetization of those new business models, and the provision also of intuitive payment methods for the customers. And there are new topics where Treasury can really support on the basis of our expertise as well as our affinity to technology. So how can we now navigate between those challenges and the excitement of Treasury? How can we fulfill the requirements and the expectation from the C-level in terms of real-time data, in terms of a high quality of decision preparation under a high uncertainty in the environment? So how can we free up time to turn to those new topics? And I think there are two main things that you can do. So first of all, you should hire smart people. That's what we do, and you will get to know Laura in a few minutes. And the second thing is, of course, to leverage technology. And that's why I want to share a bit of our S/4HANA journey, because that tremendously helped us to really navigate all of those challenges and also to have time to co-innovate and to turn to new topics. So we started the journey in 2017, 2018, and we started with a very big business process redesign project. So we really took a look at each and every process in Treasury with the clear aim to simplify and to automate wherever possible, and then find the right standard solution. Because that was the second objective, to really replace our customized solutions with SAP standard solutions. And believe it or not, we had a lot of customized solutions. So 25% of our 100 most used transactions were based on customized applications. So that's what we did and how we started. And then we really took the different areas and tried to find the right approach and the right standard solution to work with. So when you look at the way we get along, what are the key benefits that we see on that journey? First of all, it's really speed of retrieving relevant information from the HANA database. And just one example, we have built a balance sheet exposure application that analyzes 250 legal entities with up to 120 currencies. So the exposure, the foreign exchange exposure for each legal entity. And we get the list of all of those legal entities with the highest exposures in only 30 seconds. Yeah? Before, as for HANA, this was a batch process and took us 45 minutes. So it's really about speed, but it's not only about speed. It's really about the combination of having the information or interim information that you need to get a first overview on how the situation is like in the foreign exchange balance sheet area. But then it's really the power of depth of information as well. Because now that we know a certain legal entity exceeds the level of threshold for a certain balance sheet exposure, we can drill down to the very last individual posting of an accounts receivable or accounts payable, and then really tailor our hedging transaction to reduce the exposure back below the threshold. So it's really speed in combination with the depth of information that you need to really solve the underlying problem. So that's number one. The second big benefit is, of course, new functionality. And I will only take the example of our payment factory. And it was nicely shown yesterday also by Otto Group and others. I think today at SAP, or with SAP, we are looking at a very strong suite of solutions when it comes to cash management. So we have a very strong backbone of a harmonized process of outgoing payments based on bank communication management. But now, with multi-bank connectivity and advanced payment management, we get a lot of additional functionality. We have the payment format converter. We have exception handling possibilities now, where we can set rules within APM that for payments to a certain country or so to a certain bank account, you have to get an additional approval. Yeah, you have a lot more flexibility in terms of what you can do to make processes more secure and more audit-proof. And we, for example, take a look at free-form payments that would further replace electronic banking devices. And I think Rika from Liberty Mutual told you yesterday that she and her colleagues have to carry around 15 tokens. And I think we have to get rid of such processes and such risks as well. So the next thing is really about connectivity to the Treasury ecosystem. And when you look at the slide, we really enhanced the core applications with a very flexible way to connect to the Treasury ecosystem based on our business technology platform, and with the trading platform integration as a middleware, which is hosted on the BTP, you can easily connect to market data providers, to FX trading portals like 360T, and to money market opportunities, be it on the basis of portals like ICD or bank-owned solutions like Morgan Money. And this is really about choice, yeah, because via the platform you can easily onboard new opportunities to trade, to get different kinds of quotations, alternatives, and that's really something that is increasingly important. And look at rising financing costs, and also trading derivatives gets more difficult, and you need more choice to really get around those issues. And it's really also about fast onboarding and flexibility. And we were able to onboard our 5 core cash management banks on MBC, for example, in only a few months. And that shows how quickly you can also change the landscape of connectivity. And then the last thing I want to mention is really our Treasury dashboard, which is, I would say, really a state-of-the-art treasury reporting tool. And you see some examples of how it looks like. And it's real-time information because we connect directly to general ledger accounts to get the liquidity. And when you have an automatic posting of your bank statements, then you have this real-time view on liquidity. We connect to TRM to get derivatives information. And on the upper right-hand side, you see a glimpse of all of our core banks, and you have an immediate view that one of those banks shows a limit exceedance. Yeah, and then you get a proposal of other banks which have a respective free limit where you can transfer money to. So it's really data into action, not only viewing the situation as it is, but it gives you a bit of a proposal of what to do next. And then we also integrated scenarios. We have a counterparty limit concept that is based on external ratings, and the ratings are mapped to the limits. And you see here that when we show a scenario where a macroeconomic situation would occur that would lead to a downgrade of 1 or 2 notches for all of the bank partners, so the situation totally changes and a lot of those bubbles get red. So this is a good example of our involvement in the co-innovation process, because this dashboard started out as a customized solution for ourselves, but was then step by step moved to a standard solution that is now offered to all of you. So you can definitely, if you are interested, you can definitely learn more about all of those issues, all of those topics later on. We are available. But now I want to turn it over to Laura, who will get you a very, she's day-to-day, so to speak, involved in all of those co-innovation and functionality enhancement projects. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I started in the Treasury front office team in 2019, where we cover, amongst others, activities in the FX risk management or asset management. And actually, since I started, we had continuous technical changes and process optimizations. And with that, I learned pretty quickly that it's not only important to have the knowledge about Treasury topics, but to also gain an understanding of the technology our processes is based on, which I know is also true in your organizations, in order to improve, to become more efficient, and to also become more resilient. So in our Treasury team, we aim to do so in order to optimize our own activities, but also to help optimize SAP solutions for our customers. And I would now like to take you on a little journey on how that actually looks like in practice. So one thing that we do is that we engage in regular feedback cycles with our colleagues from development and IT to exchange on current Treasury topics and also business challenges based on the current software release. So that is kind of a two-way knowledge sharing, where we on the one side learn about new products and functionalities, but also provide insights into what a Treasury organization is looking for. Then the next thing is that we are also involved in testing activities where we provide early feedback from an internal business point of view, so internally raising the voice of the Treasury customer, to influence further developments. We also jump off the cliff, so to say, to become early adopters by using the latest software release and making use of new functionalities. And what actually helps us a lot here is that within our Treasury organization, we have an established structure with product owners. So we have Treasury colleagues that act as product owners, one in the area of risk management and one on the payment side, that act as a direct channel between the business users, so us, and IT and development, and manage our IT roadmap, so matching the business needs with the capacities that we actually have. So then we also like to put on our innovation helmets and engage in co-innovation projects with standard development. And Stefan mentioned, for example, the Treasury dashboard, or for example, the balance sheet exposure to enhance our product portfolio. And last but not least, we also appreciate the regular bilateral exchange with other corporate treasurers to talk about current topics and business challenges and business needs. So having said that, I would like to take you through an example where we as internal SAP customers embarked on a journey to optimize the FX hedging process and actually making my life as a front office trader easier. So that picture on the left-hand side is actually one of the better ones of me embarking on that journey. So in a first step, we aimed at increasing efficiency by facilitating the access to relevant data and services, and we did that by enabling the coverage of the main front office activities in the Fiori landscape. So Fiori is a very intuitive and modern user interface that provides quick accessibility and a seamless navigation between different applications without actually needing to remember any complicated transaction codes, which is very good for me, and without the need to know where applications are actually hosted. So the Fiori Launchpad is now acting or serving as the one single point of entry for my main activities. In the next step, we then went live with the SAP trading platform integration that we already heard about. And one of the great advantages of the TPI is that it provides two-way capabilities. In a first step, we introduced the inbound channel. So to transport executed transaction on an external platform, and in our case that's 360T that we use for FX trading, into our backend system via TPI, and hence replacing our previous and less resilient channel. Then we also set up the outbound channel. So we connected the hedge management cockpit that we use for our forecasted FX exposure management to TPI, and therefore, with that enabled an end-to-end process. Because with the cockpit, or from the cockpit, we can create automated hedge requests that are sent to TPI and from there to the trading platform and all the way back to create a straight-through process. So with that, we can already start the whole process chain in our backend system and cover all related activities from the exposure quantification to the trade execution to the deal creation without any manual breaks. So how does that actually look like for an end user, so to say? And I would like to start here on the bottom left, where we have in the hedge management cockpit our hedging policy reflected. So the different layers that we apply and related hedge ratios, for example. So that is covered in the hedge management cockpit, where our risk management colleagues can select certain periods and currencies, and based on predefined criteria, the amounts that need to be hedged in certain tenors are automatically calculated and hedge requests are created. Here also minimum volumes, rounding rules, and holiday checks for value dates can be included. And our risk management colleagues then release the hedge requests, which are then sent to TPI. And then is actually when my activities start, so the front office activities. And we start from the Fiori Launchpad that I already mentioned, where I have, or that I have customized in a way that it shows me the most important tiles for my activities on top, one of which being the trading platform integration. And from there, I seamlessly navigate to the TPI that is hosted on the business technology platform, where I can access and review the trade requests that have been suggested by the system. There I would also have the possibility to make any adjustments, like for example, splitting volumes or even reject the whole request. But if I want to proceed with it, the trade requests are sent automatically to 360T, and there as a trader I can select the counterparties that I want to ask for a quote. And that's actually everything I need to do. Then I can just execute the transaction. So volumes, the value date, and other relevant information is already preset by the trade request. And once executed, all the information is then seamlessly flowing back to TPI, also capturing the competitive bids, and back into our back-end system, where the information is captured in the transaction manager in TRM, and also in the hedge management cockpit, where I then immediately see the reduced exposure and the new hedge ratios. And the benefits that are coming along with that new process is that at first we have now a fully integrated data flow without any manual breaks or media disruptions. Then we also avoid manual and repetitive tasks, so with that increasing our efficiency. We also avoid human errors that might occur, and we now have a complete view on the links between the exposure, the hedge and trade request, the executed trades, and the hedge accounting designation that we can follow through within the system. So to close it off, also having a look at our next steps that I'm very much looking forward to, because it will further facilitate my daily operations. For our implementations, we have a sequential approach, so to say, and what we are currently working on to further leverage the TPI is the implementation of money market transactions, at first for the inbound scenario. Then we will also look at connecting the balance sheet exposure to create the same end-to-end process that we already have now for the forecasted exposure, also for the balance sheet hedges, and with that covering now the full FX space. And furthermore, we are of course continuously involved in further TPI enhancements together with our colleagues, like for example, regarding counterparty limit integration into that process that we will always have on our mind to add to our roadmap in an agile manner. So with that, I would actually give it back to you and the questions you might have.
Good. So we have some questions first. Stefan, how many banks in MBC are connected and not using SWIFT? And in which continents?
Sorry, what was the last point?
How many banks is our MBC connected and not using SWIFT? And in which continent?
Which continent? Yeah, we have 5 banks now. We have 5 core cash management banks worldwide. So it's on all the continents that we work in, and those are all of them. We use different connectivity formats, SWIFT, but also via direct membership and host-to-host. So we use all of those 3 methods and have a full coverage of our global cash management.
Great. Another question is, are you using the bank fee analyzer? If yes, how?
No, we are not using the bank fee analyzer. This is something that we have on our roadmap, but as you can imagine, I mean, we have a priority list which is quite full at the moment with Russia and a lot of other topics in the risk management area. So this is something we will take a closer look at.
And could you go over pros and cons of SAP TRM in S/4HANA Cloud?
Yeah, we have, I mean, we have a hybrid setup, and I think this is probably a bit too specific for me. I mean, I work confidently with our current setup, but maybe Arif.
I think Stefan, you're right, because it's I think Stefan, what you mean is that never we discuss with the clients because the technology.
So we invite Arif to give more explanations.
Special guest.
Time when we discuss together, Stefan, because we discuss with the client and never adopt technology because of the sake of technology, but rather than the business needs. So if the cloud deliver you the business what you're looking for, then why not the cloud? But on-premise and the cloud, this question was raised yesterday as well, but technology is not the number one, but rather than the needs behind the technology. That's why I would say you're right. Why should I go with the cloud if the on-premise still
And
provide me?
we have a hybrid approach and use cloud-based solutions as well with MBC and others. So we are fine with the current setup.
Also TPIs, Cloud Connector, market data, and so on and so
SAP.
forth. So it's always hybrid now. So that modern, it's okay. Good. So that was all. Thank you for being here today with us. And yeah, we thank you very much. Applause.
Thanks a lot.